Marseille. It's neither France nor Provence. Marseille, as they say here, is simply Marseille. Founded by the Greeks 2,600 years ago, it is by far the oldest city in France, and through its port, it has received countless waves of immigration.
Between 1960 and 1962, there were nearly 300,000 people that came into this town.
The city is an incredible melting pot of cultures. Made up of more than 100 small neighborhoods, it has a privileged access to the Mediterranean Sea. And it seems to have forgotten over the years. But locals are now rediscovering this treasure and are making the most of it.
It's nice to have access to this every day. It's nice to live in a big city, but to know that in only 20 minutes by car, you're in a wild place like this.
On the surface, the city looks like a model of tolerance, but under the facade, there's tension. There's a reason for Marseille's reputation as a tough city.
Beyond the northern suburban neighborhoods, it's a ghetto. We have to be careful.
Love it or hate it, one thing's for sure, this city of contradictions is one of a kind.
Marcel Pagnol
said that Marseille is 20 kilometers of docks to feed Europe with the arms of Africa. In this sentence, you have the entire economic system of Marseille, which was created when the port was relocated from the old port to the place we're in now.
Gabriel Chakra, like most people here, is not of French origin. Born in Guinea to Lebanese parents, he came here as a student and never left. I meet him at his favorite spot in the city, the fantastic old port.
Pendant 25 siècles, le port de Marseille était au vieux port.
For 25 centuries, the port of Marseille was where the old port is now. The old port is a cove. You saw its shape. Marseille was created with the particularity that it wasn't the city that created the port. Marseille is one of the most extraordinary ports in the world because the city was born from the port. Originally, the harbor was an entry point. And in 1844, the port was moved to La Joliette. It completely changed life because in its initial location, the port docks were open to the public. In its new location, with the new docks built in 1853, the port became separate from the city.
Despite the relocation of the commercial port, the old port still thrives. Today, it is considered to be the oldest active port in the world. Rebuilt after it was destroyed by the Nazis, this open door to the rest of the world has had its share of problems. It was the entry point of several illnesses that changed the face of the city.
There was cholera and then the plague. There were 92,000 people in Marseille in 1920. The plague entered the city on a boat, and people knew something was wrong on that boat. It was called the Grand Saint-Antoine, and it came in with a cargo that was infested. And immediately after, there were 30,000 deaths. And in the back countries of Provence, people no longer wanted to hear from Marseille. Marseille was the city that brought death.
Marseille has changed a lot since then. But nearly 300 years later, the intense amount of shipping and receiving has forced the port to move again. This time to Fos-sur-Mer, nearly 50 kilometers from the city center.
When a ship arrives here, We want to unload it as quickly as possible to keep things in
Une
motion.
grande fluidité.
So there are trains that take goods which are transported within the country. And there are very few pauses in the system.
And that's just to handle the merchandise. Cruise ships deliver over 2 million tourists to the city each year. That's more than double its population of 860,000 people.
Actuellement, nous sommes en train de lui donner un nouveau souffle.
Currently, we're giving the port a second wind, a second life. Not based on one thing, but on a variety of activities that could enable it to regain its place, its importance.
Place dans la mondialisation.
As an access way between Europe, Africa, and Asia, Marseille has grown into a cultural hub. Its openness to the world has filled its streets with diversity and color.
La géographie joue un rôle dans l'imaginaire. dans la
Geography plays a role in the imagination, in the mindset of people.
contenu de leur histoire.
The locals have a history of working with France, but not feeling quite French.
Et donc, quand Paris dit ceci,
When Paris says this, we think that.
et c'est
The reality is that the city has its eyes turned not towards Paris, but rather towards Africa, Asia, and the rest of the world. The Marseillais know that there's a world out there across the sea. He also knows that his city holds the past of the Mediterranean, a past of nearly 3,000 years.
qui est un passé qui court sur près de 3000 ans. Marseille a toujours existé.
Marseille has always existed.
Des épidémies
It's had problems, outbreaks of plague, cholera epidemics, invaders, military occupation from Julius Caesar to the German troops in 1940, 42, 43, a phase of destruction.
mais la ville a
But the city has always regenerated itself.
entre 1960
Between 1960 and 1962, there were nearly 300,000 people that came into this town.
évidemment
Some, of course, took the train to start a life elsewhere, but there are nearly 300,000 people who stayed here.
mais il y a 40 ans nous
And 40 years ago, there was no social structures to receive the people, like we have today. Hotels, social facilities, everything to make newcomers comfortable. It required new buildings and new structures. We had to build housing projects.
And the city did expand, and people from all over the world settled here. And suddenly, Marseille found itself shunned, called a lazy town, full of immigrants, not willing to make an effort.
Ah oui, alors là on a un cliché extraordinaire.
That's a regrettable misconception.
Travaille beaucoup à Marseille.
People work a lot in Marseille, and I know we have a reputation as a city of fantasy, a cosmopolitan city that lacks the serious element, but that's false, absolutely false.
C'est absolument faux. Le Marseillais
The Marseillais are hard workers, but in Marseille, we take time to live life. You know, the concept of the weekend was invented in the 19th century in Marseille. On Friday night, the locals would stop at around 6:30 or 7 to go to their cabins, a small house in the countryside, or by the sea.
cabanon, c'est un petit habitation à la
And they'd return on Monday morning to go back to work.
Marseillais, ils n'ont
This is like a country village.
travail. C'est un peu la ville à la campagne.
Ouais, vous allez voir. On fait la bise ici. Hein. C'est ça. C'est ça, plus belle la vie.
Actor Serge Dupire is well known for his role in the French television series Plus belle la vie. Filmed in Marseille, the soap opera is a phenomenon here. Serge now considers Marseille home. Today, we leave the harbor and get a privileged tour of the Calanque, a series of coves that are a haven of tranquility in the heart of a busy city.
When I arrived, I felt that things could explode at every corner. But once you get past the initial astonishment, then you stay or you leave. I'm one of those who became attached, and I'm delighted to be here. I love the place. And I love the locals. They're very colorful. But Marseille isn't France. Marseille has its own way of doing things, its own language, and its own way of living and being. La Bonne Mère, that's the heart of Marseille.
La Bonne Mère, or the Good Mother, is the nickname of Notre-Dame de la Garde, the cathedral located on the highest point of the city. Completed in 1864, its long spire has guided many ships safely to port.
There are many sailors and fishermen. And Marseille is one of those rare cities that has beaches right in the city center. We just went past the Catalans, Prophets, Malmusc. And this calanque in front of us is called Pointe Rouge, or Red Point. The calanques are all the little bays or coves that are located just on the outskirts of Marseille. If you go to the top of the ridge and you look down, you'll think you're in the Caribbean. It's unbelievable. It's a surprising sight. And in the calanques, there are the famous cabins, all these little shacks that used to be fishermen's sheds.
Welcome to Marseille.
It's nice to have access to this every day. It's nice to live in a big city, but to know that in only 20 minutes by car, you're in a wild place like this. And this is the little port of Sormieu, where we're going. It's almost the Caribbean. In the summer here, it feels just right.
There are 147 cabins in the Sormieu Cove, one of the few to be inhabited. Nowadays, this area is protected from any further development. We're looking for Yvette's cabin, a young lady of 84 years who invited us for a visit.
Oh, maybe these people can help us. Hello, can you help us find Yvette? She says it's the last cabin up there. Thank you. Hello, we're looking for Yvette.
Yvette?
Oui.
Elle est là, regarde, tu peux lui voir d'ici.
C'est là-bas. Eh ben voilà.
Ah, there it is. Thank you very much.
Après vous.
Yvette.
Heidi.
Bonjour.
Allez, voilà. Bon,
La mer est
bien
tranquille.
Welcome to the cabins of Sormieu. Come in. A cabin is a tiny room, a shed with no water, no electricity.
But there's electricity here now.
Well, yes, because we put up a solar panel. It also works with a butane tank that's underneath us. And behind, over there, is a bathroom. And upstairs, there's a nice room. You'll see it's pretty. Behind the cabin, you see the hills. It feels like we're in the mountains.
It's good to nap here in the afternoon with the crickets.
It's so good.
It's quiet. These used to be fishermen's shacks, no?
Yes, this used to be a fisherman's shack.
Moi, quand j'étais toute petite, que je venais au cabanon,
When I was little and I came here, we slept on a mattress filled with straw. There was no real bed here. There was nothing.
il n'y avait pas de lit, il n'y avait rien.
How long have you been coming here?
Oui, moi, oui.
I'm 84 years old, so I've been coming here for 84 years.
So the calanques keep you young, 84 years young.
You're nice. My grandmother had it then. It was my mother, and now me, and my daughter. That makes 4 generations we have here in Sormieu.
And it belongs to your family?
No, not at all. There's only one owner here. Everyone is a tenant.
Même notre maire de Marseille, Monsieur Gaudin,
Even the mayor of Marseille is a tenant.
Merci pour votre
Thank you for your hospitality.
hospitalité.
c'est la moindre des
Votre
choses.
accueil.
Oh, come again.
Goodbye, see you soon.
Ce que t'as ici, tu l'as pas à Paris.
You see, what you have here, you can't find in Paris or anywhere else. And it's a neighborhood of Marseille.
Ouais, super.
Author and director Philippe Carrès draws his inspiration from the city. He loves his hometown, but he also loves to hate it. For him, Marseille is a city of contradictions, both beautiful and ugly, open-minded and closed in.
Moi, je suis Marseillais pur sucre, comme ils disent.
I was born and raised in Marseille, in the old quarters, above the old port. And like everyone else here, I am the son of immigrants. My mother was born here in France, and so was my father, but they were both born to Italian parents. Since the post-war, it's never been an upscale city. But it was a popular city, where people had a true popular culture, a zest for life and a southern energy. Unfortunately, for the past 20 years, and especially the last 10 years, it's sort of sinking. It has lost something.
Sombré dans une espèce de truc. Et le problème, c'est que le Marseillais n'est pas curieux du tout, quoi. C'est-à-dire que le Marseillais,
The problem is that Marseille is not curious at all. The average Marseillais does not care for culture. In 20 years, 30 movie theaters have closed. If you want to listen to jazz, there is only one place you can do so. Marseille is a territory which is made of about 100 villages. There are actually 100 villages here that were linked in the 1950s by low-income housing projects.
Dans les années 50 par des bars HLM, par des bars d'habitation, quoi.
To illustrate Marseille's contradictions, Philippe takes me to the Cité Radieuse. Constructed between 1945 and 1952 to accommodate the city's influx of immigrants, it was a work of the great architect Le Corbusier.
I remember as a kid when I was 6 or 7 years old, my parents lived right across the street, and for them, it was a monstrous kind of thing. And eventually people got used to it and accepted it. And today it's full. People are fighting to get an apartment here. Very funny. It's not luxury, but it's upper middle class.
Heidi? Enchanté? Richard Biche, a veteran tenant of the famous building, has lived here for as long as he can remember. He shares with me some of the stories that surround the iconic building. Colorful, bright, and radiant, Le Corbusier created a universe. 337 homes built up like a wine rack, each box being a separate apartment. It had its own butcher shop, grocery store, school, and even its own hotel. Sounds like everything you'd find in a village.
Le Corbusier believed that in a building like this, the people who live here may want to invite friends for a while. So he planned a hotel within the building.
Vous avez un hôtel.
Here is one of the rooms.
The hotel was built so the guests of the tenants had a place to stay. Seeing the size of the apartments, we quickly understand why these extra rooms were necessary.
Things had been planned so that those who lived here didn't need to go sit on a lawn chair in front of the building all day in order to meet people. It's built in an efficient way. You step out, take the elevator, cross the building, see people.
Ils traversent le truc, s'il faut, ils se saluent et puis après ils rentrent chez eux. Ils ont l'impression.
It feels like each apartment is a small house, and when you step out, you have everything you need.
It's hard to believe that these apartments were made to accommodate 4 people. Looking out the window, I was taken with the view. I asked Richard if we can get up onto the roof, which originally included a swimming pool and gardens. A great place to take some photographs.
Wow.
Here we have a view of all Marseille, and for those who didn't like the building's architecture, it's the only place from where you don't actually see the building.
On voit tout Marseille, on voit plus le bâtiment.
Marseille is a city that faces west and not south. It's misleading because there are maps on which we absolutely wanted the sea to the south because the Mediterranean is south. So there are many parts of Marseille that are not oriented properly. When you arrive in Marseille, you look for the north, you can't find it. What we're looking at now, the sea, is west, and behind are the Calanques and the mountains. It's clear that Marseille is like an island. That is to say that it's surrounded by mountains, so there's no access to the rest of the country. And you have the sea on the other side, so you're stuck. Marseille is like a trap, and that's the thing. Marseille is isolated, so it's not easy to leave.
Philippe suggests we end our day at the Prado Beach, one of the most beautiful places in Marseille. This man-made beach represents an effort by the locals to reclaim the shores of the Mediterranean, which they seem to have forgotten over the years.
It's entirely artificial. Until 30 years ago, there was no access to the sea. In fact, we are now where the sea was. All these hills, the beach, this is all made with the soil from the metro. The metro was built in the 70s because we had no underground transport system. Now we have 2 lines and the Prado Beach. And what is funny is that this is one of the few calm places in Marseille. It's one of the few quiet places where you can come without feeling the frenzy. It is beautiful. In fact, one of the problems of this city is that it's all beautiful. In summer, this beach is full. All the neighborhoods of Marseille meet here, and the place is really nice.
I stumbled upon Thomas Azuelos on a popular French website. He's an author and illustrator who publishes fictional stories rooted in Marseille's subculture.
The Belly of Marseille is the name of my column. In a fictional way, I imagine the city as a kind of universe. I feel that Marseille has so many parallel realities and that the fictional can link all of them together. You have the old Algerians that carry around incredible stories, which contain both the history of Algeria and the history of France. You have the Italians, the Corsicans, who are the largest population here. All that contains so much history. I later learned that the Belly of Marseille was also the nickname of this neighborhood, because there were many butchers. So, in the street, there was meat sold everywhere. During market hours, the neighborhood is incredibly busy.
There's an ever-growing number of people who, like Thomas, are attracted by the duality of the city. It seems that Marseille's tough, unpolished soul is a big part of its charm for those who can appreciate it.
Within just a few blocks, there are neighborhoods that are radically different from one another. Going up Aubagne Street, for example, we will inevitably change neighborhoods, and the mood and feel of the place changes dramatically. I wrote a comic book that takes place in this area, between my workshop and here. So I walked these streets many, many times to draw and take pictures. Telling the story of the place, even in a fiction, it opens your eyes. It forces you to look at how things work and the way the buildings stand. Marseille is a city that takes you in very quickly. I wrote a book about Marseille that tells the story of a character who arrives here very confident and thinks she understands the city. And she quickly realizes she knows nothing at all. If you live here for 3 months, you'll feel like a local. Very quickly, you're proud to be here. It's a big ego thing to live in Marseille. But after that, you'll realize it's hard to immerse yourself in all the complex realities of the place. In this neighborhood, for example, you'll rarely get to know the merchants. They're just passing through and they don't stay. And people don't talk very easily. Daily life is still a battle for many people.
Donc la vie est beaucoup plus dure que ça. C'est pas un quartier populaire où tu vois, les gens parlent facilement. Non, ils parlent pas facilement. La vie au quotidien est quand même un peu une bataille pour beaucoup de gens, quoi. Donc,
I think that before we try to make the city a cultural capital or a Mediterranean capital, we should be concerned about reality.
Capitale culturelle ou vers quelle capitale méditerranéenne, il faut déjà se préoccuper d'une réalité concrète.
And I feel that there's a gap between the needs of the people who live here and the way the city works. Something's missing.
Through a project called the Euro-Mediterranean, Marseille aimed to increase the commercial potential of the port. To this end, the residents of Republic Street were evicted from their homes to make way for stores, restaurants, and boutiques that were more attractive to international tourists.
Euro-Méditerranée, c'est une espèce de connexion entre l'Europe.
The Euro-Mediterranean project is a kind of connection between Europe and the Mediterranean. Historically, Marseille was a port very open to the Mediterranean, through which many people came and went. This new project created an opening to the wealth of the north, that's for sure. But did it attract people to the south? I highly doubt it. Republic Street, just over there, also tried to attract the upper class, but it failed. I don't know why. Maybe it's because it's very close to the port, and the people who depend on the sea, the fishermen, those who settled there, didn't make it attractive for the bourgeois.
Qui s'installaient là-bas, mais en tout cas, ils n'arrivaient pas à fixer la bourgeoisie au bord de l'eau, quoi. Alors il se trouve que ces magasins ont l'air à peu près vides.
So it turns out that the stores set up here to attract tourism look almost empty. And even the real estate development plan failed.
Une grande partie donc, de ces logements ont de bonnes chances de...
Many of these buildings are on their way to becoming social housing, so we can hope that there will be a neighborhood life that will emerge behind the useless stores. Behind every new store that pops up here, we have to remember that there was once a traditional business with a life and a history.
Il faut imaginer qu'il y avait un vieux commerce qui...
Just a few blocks down, there was a bakery with two lovely little ladies. That's gone, like all the others. Now everything is brand new. But when we know what's behind it all, it becomes a bit less beautiful.
Voilà, quand on sait ce qu'il y a derrière, c'est tout de suite moins drôle, quoi.
Despite this hard reality, Thomas and the masses that live here remain deeply attached to Marseille.
C'est une ville qui a un mouvement extraordinaire. Je pourrais dire
It's a city that has an extraordinary momentum and movement. It's an exhausting place, but at the same time, if you're tired at the end of the day, it's because you've really seen a lot. I spend my days drawing the city and writing about the city, so it's a very good reason to be here. There are surprises around every corner.
And on every street corner, this city bustles with people from all corners of the globe.
Là, derrière, il y a la rue, il y a tous les marchands, les coiffures, il y a plein de choses.
Just over there are merchants, the hair salons, and everything else. All owned by people from around the world. I do my shopping at an Asian place, and there I can find anything and everything, even Comoran food. Marseille for me consists of so many different origins. There are all the Africans, but nowadays there are so many newcomers, even Kurds and Iraqis. A few years ago it was the Italians, and then the Comorans and the Maghrebi. And there's a whole new wave. For me, this is the wealth of Marseille, all these cultures. Unfortunately, although they coexist, they don't mix enough. They'll all meet at the stadium for a football match, the rich and the poor, but it's the only place they actually get together. In the art world, we come together, and it would be great if new communities started to mix as they arrive.
Marseille has carried its reputation as a tough city for a long time. Its northern districts are largely populated by immigrants. It's these areas that often make the headlines. And with so much bad press, they don't tolerate cameras easily. Amada Smith, an artist very involved with the locals here, takes me in with the hope of showing me the conditions of daily life. The projects, although right next to the city, seem like a world apart. Public transit doesn't really bother coming up this way, and contact with the broader city is limited.
La différence des autres cités, c'est des logements sociaux.
These projects are different than others because they are privately owned rather than government owned. And these private owners don't fix up the apartments and buildings. That makes for very difficult living conditions, and places like this become real ghettos. Beyond the northern suburban neighborhoods, it's a ghetto. That's another life, especially Caliste Park by the mountains.
It's very cosmopolitan. There are Comorans, Maori, Slavs, Arabs, whites. Not many, but there are some. It has everything. You can't even call it a neighborhood anymore. For me, it's a city. My city. Caliste Park.
Allez leur dire, je viens du parc Caliste, de cette zone à haut risque, là où les rats...
Seda raps about his neighborhood, calls it a high-risk zone. And he was unfortunately right. It didn't take long before the locals began to express their displeasure with our little documentary project. No time to set up before someone started throwing things at us from the top floor of this building. Result? Broken camera and a quick escape. You have to know when it's time to go.
We should really go, because this is going to get heavy. I don't think we call it danger. It's tension. That's not the same thing. To me, danger would be if we were in the favelas in Brazil. I would say it's dangerous because there are shootings. I often say that it's more dangerous in Paris than in Marseille. There is no real danger here. People are tense, they'll throw eggs and cans, but they won't pull you over to rob you.
Vous braquez. Et en même temps, j'avais envie de...
I wanted to show you that these places exist in Marseille, and the youth, like Seda, are trying to move forward even though they live in this kind of place. As he said earlier, he loves his city.
Il aime sa ville. Ouais, là, c'est normal. Mais l'idée...
The idea of throwing things at you is not to hurt you. They're just saying, hey, I'm here, I exist, look at me. It's like in suburbs where there were riots and cars were burned. You don't just burn neighbors' cars for fun. It's a call for help, like when you screamed and needed your mom's attention or help because you were injured. You needed her to know that you were suffering.
Still hoping to talk with someone, we move on to Félix Piat, another low-income housing project even closer to the city center.
Heidi, meet Mumbi.
I meet more artists, some of which have lived here, and are now trying to change the public perception of these neighborhoods. In short, I have bodyguards this time. And here it goes again.
We have to be careful.
C'est pour souhaiter la bienvenue.
It's the welcoming committee.
This neighborhood is called Félix Piat. Mumbi used to live here.
Félix Piat is actually one of the first neighborhoods of Marseille. It's a hard place to live in because it was abandoned, left out by the government. And now you can see for yourself, people live in terrible conditions. It's unfortunate that there are still places like this, left behind. And that's why people here don't like the cameras, because television always portrays them so negatively. Unfortunately, this has become a real ghetto. And you won't find French people here. And what did the media show of the ghettos? Thieves, drug dealers, everything negative. The positive things, no one talks about because it's not interesting enough. People here have so little, and they barely manage to get by. But there's support and solidarity. The lady on the 8th floor will ask the one on the 6th floor for a bit of sugar, things like that. And this community approach is part of the Marseille identity.
This morning, I had planned a photo project that involved fishing in the Mediterranean. But the weather didn't quite cooperate. I was told the waves were too intense. As soon as the wind died down, Christian Guarino, one of the many fishermen of Marseille, took me out on the water to check if I had sea legs.
The sea had calmed down, but it looks like it's stirring up again.
If this is calm, I'd like to see the windy version.
This isn't bad weather. Bad weather is when you can't see the sea anymore. Just fog and waves.
But the view of the city from the boat was so beautiful that I quickly forgot the waves.
Marseille is very close to the sea. It's a fishing hub and a big transportation and merchandise hub.
In Marseille, people are bound to the sea. The sea is in the blood. Fishermen consider Marseille has some of the most bountiful waters anywhere. And Christian is one of the most skillful, as he's the preferred provider for the only 3-star restaurant in the city.
Today we're fishing for bonito, bream, sea bass, and other less popular fish. There aren't many fishermen who look for these fish in Marseille. Now you're going to taste something outstanding.
I must admit, I made the mistake of asking if the water was polluted.
I took a sip, and it's not polluted, but it is a little salty. You'll see, it's very delicate. Once the fish is sold, the day is done at sea.
Gérald Paseda is the owner of the 3 Michelin star restaurant Le Petit Nice. And having 3 stars in Marseille is different than having them in Paris. Here, the rigid French cuisine is more relaxed thanks to the local influences. And why not? The myriad of cultures that have shaped Marseille over the years have added unique flavors to the local palate.
À Paris, c'est beaucoup plus concentré sur l'intérieur d'un restaurant.
In Paris, it's much more focused on the restaurant's interior and the plates. But here, we concentrate on the food and on the view. We try to fish wisely, so we rotate the kind of fish we serve. For example, tuna is currently scarce in the Mediterranean, so we don't use it. Instead, we use less-known varieties of fish that we caught this morning. And that's what we've developed with the fishermen, to work with about 65 species of fish annually. So we constantly change what we serve, and it allows nature to rebuild itself.
Gérald's cuisine fuses the bounty of the Mediterranean Sea with the rich soils of Provence. His specialty, of course, fish, particularly those he calls the forgotten fish.
The fish do not touch the ice. They arrive at the restaurant like you saw this morning. And they are prepared immediately and served on the same day. It's a traditional way of working with fish. I am fortunate enough to be on the Mediterranean, so I have to honor the sea. I have the obligation of bringing out the best in the fish on the plate to make it as beautiful as possible. Here, for example, we have a very nice bream with the hook like that in the mouth, because we only use fish caught on a line. You see? That's a beautiful piece of sea bream that we received today. Here is a turbot, the first we got this season. We received beaux yeux, which means beautiful eyes. We started working with these because fishermen didn't manage to sell them. So we decided to bring them back to the kitchen, to make them special again. All these other fish, so many varieties, these are fish that we forgot to eat, so to speak. And they're right there in the Mediterranean, but they're no longer served. We're trying to change that.
Gérald creates his dishes from traditional Marseille cuisine, like sea anemones. Okay, so it isn't for everyone.
I'm going to show you something that has nothing to do with fish. It's sea anemone. And we make cakes with these, you see? It's a dish that is traditional in the sense that our grandmothers, made it because it was cheap. We would look for these ourselves in the rocks. But it's very stinging. You can't just eat it like that or you'd be rushed to the hospital. We have to neutralize the venom using vinegar to make it edible.
Seafood isn't the only ingredient in authentic Marseille recipes. Periods of poverty and waves of immigration all helped shape the local diet.
We cook in the Cretan tradition, with the Cretan diet. That is to say, we eat very healthy, no fat, no butter, no cream. The focus is on seafood with aromatic herbs. This place has evolved with a conscience that this is not a rich country. It's fundamentally a poor country, but it is wealthy with its worldly influences. It's an open place, open to everything that comes from the rest of the world, like spices. In the summer, many locals stay right here instead of going elsewhere on vacation, and I think it's because they're conscious of their heritage. We're lucky to be living on the Mediterranean with the sun and a great climate. For my part, all the people I know stay in Marseille in the summer because this is where you want to be. We do not need to go on vacation elsewhere because this place has everything. Imagine, you can go to the sea, you can ski an hour from the city in winter. It's a wonderful city on the sea.
Gérald takes me to meet the owner of one of the oldest herbal shops in Marseille. With her expertise, Gérald created a collection of perfume-infused waters that can accompany his dishes. A great way for those who do not drink alcohol to ignite their palate.
We're going to get herbs from Martine Blaise. Martine's herb shop is one of the oldest. It's also a pharmacy.
C'est une pharmacie, hein.
I think we have to take taste to another level and make things stand out, to have a personality. People come to my restaurant to eat what I like, my tastes. So everything we do has to be constant and perfect. Whether they're infusions, herbs, broths, fish, everything we cook. All this is very specific and distinctive. It's not something you can find elsewhere. It's very important. I offer a cuisine from the sea, a cuisine from the depths. I often say that the Mediterranean is my garden, and it's where everything started for me. But I'm also influenced by the dry countryside of the region. And by balancing the two, I created my food, which seemed like the obvious thing. And then there's the maturity, because you need practice. Look, 1815. It smells good, doesn't it? Martine, hello, how are you? So Martine is the great druid.
It's owned by the same family since 1815. We've been here for 6 generations. My great-grandfather created it, and we've been here ever since, right next to the port, so you can see the boats arrive filled with spices and herbs.
Martine Blaise is one of France's last herbalist pharmacists. I didn't even know they existed, but it fits perfectly in this nonconformist and headstrong corner of the world.
You know that in Provence, we still use plants quite a bit. Marseille is a big city, but at the same time, we're very close to the country. And it's great because we can grow plants. You can wander in nature. It's the best aspect of this city. I often remind people that 2/3 of the world's population still uses plants for healing. And here we have Comorans, we have all the people of the Maghreb, and all these people are fond of plants because it's their medicine. It's broadened our therapeutic possibilities. We have access to more plants than before.
Là, c'est la rue d'Aubagne, en fait. C'est le quartier un petit peu où les gens prennent les...
We are on Aubagne Street, in a little neighborhood where you can go shopping for food. The market's a crazy mix of Africans, Arabs, Jews, everyone. You see everything you can get? There are many stores like that. And all the spices from the East, garam masala, Mexican spices, tandoori, chili. People here are used to eating things from all over the world, whether from the Orient, Asia, the world, because the port is obviously open to the rest of the world. As you can see, all ethnic groups meet and mingle here, and they all accept each other. So inevitably, we have culinary influences from elsewhere.
Tough and beautiful, ancient and modern, provincial and international. Marseille is a city that has made contradiction its character. It forces us to redefine our idea of what a city really is, what it means to coexist, and how extreme diversity at once fragments and unites. Hundreds of small neighborhoods, each with their own identity, exist like independent cells in a bigger system. Marseille is original, challenging, defiant, and creative. It has become a unique oasis of colonial cultures, a lasting monument to France's imperialism, and a place where even the locals can complain and defend it in the same breath. All this under the Mediterranean sun and nestled against the sea.